There we go. That was nice. Lost in My Mind, The Head and the Heart. I'm pleased to say we've been joined on Zoom by Colin. Hello, Colin.
How you doing? You all right?
Oh, we can hear you fine. Hurrah! When the fader's down, I couldn't hear you. So I don't know. I'm having a bit of a technical nightmare today. But thank you for joining. And I do apologise. I sent you the wrong Zoom details originally. But we are where we are.
It always works better when it's the right one.
It always works better when it's the right one.
Yeah.
I think that one that I sent you had been saved from our previous studio because we're in a new studio now. And I think I've obviously got the wrong details. But anyway, apologies. Thank you for joining me. I think it was lockdown when we last spoke. Was it 2020 or something?
It was either 2020 or 21, maybe early 21.
Ago. That's right. So for the benefit of our listeners, let's go back to the beginning, because I like to talk about how you got to where you are today and what kind of led you to what you're doing. So you weren't at school or maybe you were at school as a 15, 16-year-old going, do you know what, I'm going to be a stage hypnotist when I leave school. What did you want to do when you left school?
I wanted to be an actor. I think performance was always my thing. I was always in the school production. I was in a local theatre group that it was 2 shows a year, and it was always like the comedy role that I'd take on in those particular productions. And yeah, it was. So
you were naturally comedic. Naturally comedic.
Yeah. So and then went from there really to college, and I went to sixth form first, but it was kind of like a bit too booky and talking about it.
Yeah.
And,
and you were more of a doer.
Yeah, what's the point in talking about it? Just get up and do it. But yeah, so I went to do performing arts, did a couple of years of that. Then went on holiday parks and I'd done 4 years of that. And
so that wasn't as a hypnotist then? When you were doing the holiday parks, when you first started, you were just an entertainer, were you? What kind of things were you doing?
Bingo, quiz, that kind of thing. Bit of DJing and doing game shows basically, and that was the thing I particularly liked doing, was doing like when you go on holiday to holiday parks, it's kind of like the filler before the main act.
Yeah.
Well, I used to kind of have in my mind that was the show, and I used to put a lot of production into it, like the music had to be right and all that. So that kind of developed when I went to Spain. Everybody told me, go to Spain, you'll love it, do 1 year there.
Okay.
And then I stayed, and I worked for a guy that was a hypnotist. And
how long were you in Spain for?
It was, my first year was 2000. Was it 2002? Yeah, 2002, and I did 6-7 years there. Came home for a bit, and then went to Mallorca for a further 7 years.
Wow.
And that's when the early part was Salou, the guy I worked for, and it was. I just recently realised it's 20 years since I started doing hypnosis.
Wow!
Because the guy who trained me to be a hypnotist, he put up a post that the bar he was opening, which, by me doing the game gave him more time to work on that.
Yeah.
It's a magic theme bar that's 20 years old. I went, I must have been doing this for 20 years then.
Wow.
So that's kind of where it all begun.
So do you not miss the heat of Spain? Why have you come back to this weather?
It's freezing today, isn't it?
I miss it today.
Yeah. It kind of went all up to the pandemic, and it's not the same place as it was pre-pandemic. A lot of the contacts I had, that's changed. There's a few of the bars there still going strong, but going back after everything that's gone on, and some bars closed. And, it would have been like starting again. And, so I thought, well, why start there when I can maybe start here and make contacts here.
So you came back and let's go back to, so you worked with this guy and he was a hypnotist, and what made? I mean, I've seen hypnotists. What made you think? I love it that you were like you thought that the preamble to the main show was you were the main show, actually, basically in your head.
In my mind, yeah.
So that's what makes me laugh, because I'm like, I've seen hypnotists. I've never ever thought, do you know, I could do that. I'm gonna have a go at that. But I bet you did. But
no, I didn't.
Oh, did you not? How
I
did
didn't
you?
at all.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the guy I worked for, who taught me the show, he was looking the year before to train a few people to do hypnosis, and I didn't really. I was thinking about doing stand-up comedy.
Right.
I was just going to do that. I thought many training courses somewhere, and it's yeah. And I just. He kind of put the idea into my mind, and I was watching his show throughout the season, and the more I did it, the more I saw it, I got more and more interested into. To finally, I said to him, "I think I'm ready."
Right.
And then he put me on that night, and I was like,
"Put you on?"
Okay, so
did he not did you not spend time with him like learning how to do it?
No, I'd been working. Yeah. I'd been working over it a number of times,
okay.
So I knew I was ready to go on, but.
You must have tried it on
your mind.
Did you try it on someone before you went on the live show, though? Did you actually try and...
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been practicing and all that kind of thing. But
I was a bit panicking then. I was thinking you just were like, oh, I can do that. That's fine. I'll have a go. And did it...
But actually going on and doing a show is very different with strangers and all that kind of thing. And it's So he just went, oh, you're on tonight.
Wow.
He was off to see Phil Collins in Barcelona, so I ended up doing his show for him that night.
You must have been nervous. Were you nervous?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. But I suppose because there was a very small time to think about it and actually be doing it.
Yeah,
that probably helped.
Yes.
Just getting to do it.
I've got loads of questions running around in my head. I just want to say I love your background. Obviously, listeners can't see, but Colin's got this red curtain, like draped red curtain background, so it's like he's in a theatre. It's very dramatic. Yes. Loving that.
Always put up the background you want to be working in, I think.
Oh, brilliant. I love it. Right, I'm going to play a quick track and try and be able to get somehow to be able to speak to you and be able to hear you while the track is on, so we can talk about what we're going to talk about next. I've got lots of tracks lined up that have got the word mind in, because I thought, it's all about mind bending. So this is Strength of Mind. I'm going to have to lean forward to read the name because I can't see without my glasses on. Hold on. Killsworth Engage. Killsworth Engage? Right. Let's have a listen. No one knows what this could be like. We could be fading it down after 5 minutes. Let's have a listen. Okay, so we are fading that track down because it's not really the Good Morning Marlow vibe, that kind of heavy metal. Probably should have listened to that beforehand and done a bit of prep, but there we go. Life's been a bit busy this week, and never mind. We'll fade that out and we'll get Colin back on. Right, Colin, I want to talk about the mind, because obviously the mind is what your show is all based on, and Kelly does loads of mindfulness and meditation, and I'm fascinated by the mind. In fact, yesterday I was in London and listened to a presentation for a guy who talks about neuro ninja and connections in the brain and how they all work, and it was to do with well-being actually, and how we have to practice things in order for the pathways in the brain to make them easier. Nobody kind of finds things easy when they first learn how to do something. So did you have to learn all about how the mind works when you were sort of doing your training?
I learned more so after I'd done a show.
Okay.
I'd read about it because I'm not the kind of person to step on stage and do something that I don't understand a bit better. So I'd researched it and I'd gone on the internet and Googled what hypnosis is, and every time I Googled there was a different explanation.
Oh, really?
Because I don't think one person. Everybody's got a different interpretation of what actually hypnosis is.
Well, and because we don't know much about the brain, do we, and how the brain works, really, in comparison to how complex it is. That's probably why. But I also think that's about anything in life. You ask 10 gardeners the same question, you'll get 10 different answers because everybody's got their own opinion. So So what's your opinion on how hypnosis works, and how do you...
It's a bit like when you open a door. What I do with hypnosis, just as that door's about to close, I shove my foot in and I give some suggestions. That's literally how I best describe it. It's somewhere between sleep. No, people aren't asleep, people aren't awake, but people have different experiences. I mean, at the end of it, people will say, "Oh, I remember everything that went on. It just felt the right thing to do."
Yes.
To do this thing. Some people say at the end they can remember a thing, but they don't remember the suggestions that I was giving them. They just remember doing the things.
Okay.
And some people, they don't remember a thing, and they're just like, it's a bit like a night out, really, isn't it? Probably it's a bit like your night out tomorrow morning. Hopefully, you'll remember dancing to ABBA.
I hope so. That's my experience of it. So I once went to Ibiza to visit a friend who was living out there, and she had a friend who was doing a hypnosis show out there, and he said, come up on stage, and so he got several people up on the stage, and then obviously did his thing. It was asking us to concentrate on things. I seem to remember he was asking us to concentrate on clasping our hands together, and then obviously some people were more susceptible. And then he would say, you sit down, and then he was left on stage with a handful of people. And I was afterwards fully aware of what I'd done, but I just felt really compelled to do what he was telling me to do, even though I knew I looked really silly. I felt very, very compelled to do what he was telling me to do. I remember marching around like a sergeant major and bossing people about, which was probably quite enjoyed that, if I'm honest.
It's the power of suggestion, though, isn't it? Because I work with quite a lot of hypnotherapists and lead in meditation and stuff myself. I find it really interesting that you are aware of a lot of things, but it's like Colin said, that suggestion. So your mind is actually doing the work, the suggestions are landing, and it's being open to that, because so often in life we close ourselves off, don't we, and then we get buried under all this stuff. So when you have these spaces to open up and the suggestions, it's how they land and how you perceive them, because ultimately, I don't know about you, Colin, or your view on it, but these people that you're, guiding and suggesting things to, they're in control themselves, aren't they? They are doing the work.
Do you feel that, Colin?
I didn't hear a word of that.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Oh, that's weird. Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's right. It probably was totally, completely right.
So Kelly was saying that basically some people are more open to suggestions, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And do you find that? Do you think it's a type of person that's more open to suggestion?
I mean, if the people that say it will happen, I've had people that will come up on stage and volunteer, and they're digging their fingers into their legs so it doesn't happen. I'm like, why'd you come up anyway? It's quite strange when I mean, I've had people come up on stage and go, well, it won't work for me, and I go, well, are you going to focus? You're going to listen? Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then they go under hypnosis. Yeah. I've had people wake up at the end and tell me nothing happened, and the whole audience are going, what? I mean, everybody's experience of hypnosis, I think, is completely different.
And I guess that's what makes the show so interesting and so funny.
Yeah.
So you obviously base your shows around comedy. What kind of things do you get people doing?
Milking cows and riding horses and human typewriters, human washing machines, human jackhammers. Do you change it depending on the people, or do you have like a bag of tricks? So you don't have a set thing. This is what I'm going to do. You just I mean, generally when you get, like if you're doing every single night, like in a summer season, you probably beginning to do the same things over and over, and you're like, after to go, I need to mix this up. But if you see someone that's more responsive to the more subtle things, you work with them there. If you see some people that are really going for like the big animated stuff, you go with them. Somebody who's a bit shyer, some people, their minds won't do certain things.
So that's the other thing I was going to say. I never when I was hypnotised, I never felt that this person could suggest that I do something that I really, really didn't want to do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like I was in control. I just felt very compelled. But I kind of knew if he'd asked me to do something like rob a bank, I don't think I would have done that. I think I'd have been like, no, not doing that. However, Darren Brown, he's proved that wrong, because he did the heist, didn't he? Did you see the heist?
Yeah, the heist, yeah.
How does that work?
But, I mean, those people that were on that show had to go through a lot of auditions to get to that point. They were like sick. You know, there would have been people earlier in that process that probably wouldn't have done those things. I don't want to discredit Darren Brown. Is probably my idol as far as mentalism, magic and hypnosis is concerned. But there'll be people a lot further on that process that wouldn't have done those things. And so not everybody would do those things. But yeah, I mean, what a great show that was.
So what's the difference between a mentalist and a hypnotist, in your opinion?
Mentalism is generally mind magic. I mean, I do that kind of show as well. It's the more mind reading type stuff that you can either do closer or you can do that on stage.
I find that really fascinating. Really fascinating. Do you think, because Darren Brown in that show, The Heist, I watched it, he kind of did, it was a bit like a magician revealing how he does stuff, because he did afterwards, he sort of went, it's all about the power of suggestion, and he was like, you didn't notice, but there was a picture on the wall that had a van on it, and there was a colour green that was there, and it was all connected, and it was all absolutely fascinating, but felt a little bit like, oh, if you were in the magic circle, that would be like telling people how you did it, but still very clever.
It's displaying like the anchors that create the behaviour. If he's installed behaviours as they go through, that's why they've reacted at that time to grab the bags and run off with them. Yeah,
it was very, very interesting. So just let's talk about on the last few minutes of the interview what you've been up to since you kind of came back, and what kind of things are you offering out at the moment. And you're busy, aren't you? Because I know, because you don't answer your emails. I know you're busy.
Worst. I'm totally the worst at that.
You're better on text, I've realised, so that's fine. But what have you been doing? So you came back, life had changed in Europe because of COVID, and you came back and you were like, well, I've got to do something. So what did you do?
Well, I just started doing shit. I mean, during the pandemic, this was my stage, and I was doing like corporate virtual magic shows. I was doing birthday parties.
Is that kind really of thing. Hard to do that over Zoom?
The magic's. It's only because you don't feel the reaction really, because a lot of people are mute. A lot of people, you don't get that. Yeah, but I convinced myself during that it's as good. And then when I got in front of a live audience again, I'm like, it's never going to be as good. No. You get that instant thing. Like when you tell a joke on Zoom, you've got to wait a moment, and then they smile or they laugh, and then you react off that. So it just slows everything down, really, doesn't it? So, but
so you prefer the live? You prefer the live stuff?
Oh yeah,
I think all performers probably prefer being live, don't they?
Well, step out in front of an audience and you get that immediate reaction, and so I started doing hypnosis shows again up and down the country, and more so moving more into the close-up magic now. I've been doing a lot more of that, which wasn't really there before, but I think Zoom really taught me that, because everything had to be dead close, even though we were miles away, but sometimes in different countries. Then it brought it a lot closer, so that's kind of come out of that, and more what maybe people want in the UK for their corporate events. And
so I was going to say, what's your bread and butter? Is it the corporate world that's your bread and butter, or
that's where I'm moving into, and also weddings as well. I mean, hypnosis and weddings is huge in America.
Really?
But we need to get some UK weddings having hypnosis shows, I think.
That sounds funny. I bet that's good fun.
That does sound fun.
Yeah, hypnosis show at your wedding.
Yeah.
So,
especially get the groom up. Tell no secrets. So.
Oh my goodness! Can you imagine? It could be a very short marriage.
Yeah.
What do you prefer doing? What's your absolute favourite?
I love hypnosis shows. The reactions from the audience that you get. You get the people tell me it's the funniest thing they've ever seen. Quite simply, but it's because it's people they know that are doing these things that they thought was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel prepared. It feels completely spontaneous.
Yeah.
And my guide is literally as conductor of a band, and that may not play the right tune, or they might go, it's up to me to get the best out of them and give them the experience that they can always forget or never forget, depending on their experience.
Yeah. What's been your highlight so far in your career? What's been the high point?
There was, I used to do like the biggest hotel in Mallorca, and it was like the Club Mac in Alcudia. It's like got it's an all-inclusive hotel, so it's like a big entertainment area outside, and I'd have like 50 volunteers plus before the show started, and you can be choosing, and now you're not concentrating enough. In a smaller show, you'd be like, just relax, take it longer. But now it's just get that done fast and get the show on. So yeah, the shows we had on them, I'd be running around the stage literally. It was
so
amazing.
if you've got 50 people and you can whittle them down quite quickly, right? Yeah, you can sit down. Do people ever get cross that you're telling them to sit down?
Yeah, some people can, but I tell them that could happen beforehand, and tell them not to take it personally. It's just that today wasn't their day, but it doesn't mean they can't be hypnotised in the future.
Right.
It might be them, it might be me, it might be the time, the month, the year, something today, I don't know. So
is there an optimum amount of people? Is there an optimum number that you like to work on?
At least one funny one.
Yeah, you need. That's you, isn't it? Funny. You're the funny one.
Well, it's mainly them. It's me getting the comedy out of them. Eight's a good number. 6 is a good number. I don't know. I've worked a lot with 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s.
Have you worked with some big numbers then? When you've had 50, do you end up with like?
Well, probably about 20. But but it's more about the group then, so you don't really get the time to be able to go around to people individually. But if you've got about 8, you can really bring out some individual characters that like are just hilarious. And they're the main people that come out on the clips that I put on YouTube,
on your website,
Facebook and stuff.
So let's tell the listeners your website, because I was looking at your website and when I was doing my research, and there are some very funny clips on there. What's the website name?
www.colinadamson.com.
Actually, if you just Google Colin Adamson hypnotist, it comes up.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
very easy.
Yeah.
So, what's next for you? What's coming up?
Christmas, it's on its way. I do children's shows as well, so there's a lot of them coming as well in the daytimes, and then the more adult stuff in the evenings and the weekends. So it's the Christmas rush where it's all work, no play, but it's playing while I'm working. That's all coming up next, and something I'm really working on at the moment is finding like more local venues for like magic nights that I can do a regular thing and build up more of a local following. Obviously, I was out in Mallorca for years, so
where are you based? Where is local to you?
Milton Keynes, Buckinghamshire.
You are.
Yeah. So it's so like I'd like to get more local following, then move into putting on bigger and better shows locally, and then developing from that really.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Now we're performing again. When we started spoken, I couldn't talk about any of that. It was like I'd just like to step on a stage again and have a microphone in my hand.
Yeah.
That was the dream.
Yeah.
But now I'd like to start really getting proper shows.
You're clearly a natural performer, and you actually absolutely love it, don't you? I mean, I can see your sort of passion for it. It's funny because you sort of think, you ever get asked that question, like, if you weren't doing what you're doing now, what do you think you would have ended up doing? Has anyone ever asked you that? Do you ever think, or do you just go like, I would always be on stage? It would be something on stage.
Yeah. It'd have been stand-up comedy, I think, if not that, or audition to be an actor in something like that. I could have gone down that route. Or
you would never have been an accountant, Colin, would you?
I can't see that. I'm not very good at the maths.
I'm not good at maths either.
No, the adding up and the numbers and the calculator.
No, definitely not. Well, listen, thank you for coming on and giving us a little insight into your world. I think it's absolutely fascinating. I'm going to play you out with Lose My Mind by The Wanted, which I'm hoping will be a little bit nicer than the thing we had before. Have you got a show tonight? Are you working
not this
tonight?
evening, no.
Okay,
no.
That's nice. You get a Friday night off, because I imagine you're...
No, not tomorrow either, because it's Luton Town in the Premier League tomorrow. It doesn't watch itself, does it? So.
It doesn't watch itself.
I like that, yeah.
It's got your priorities right. It's got its priorities right. But you're expecting a busy December, and then maybe you'll have a bit of a rest in January.
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Well, it's been absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much for joining me again, me and Kelly. I'm sorry you couldn't hear Kelly, because she had some insightful stuff to say, but I don't know what's happening.
I'll listen to it in a bit when I listen back.
Yes, you can, and that's a very good plan, because you can listen again on Marlow FM's website. You can listen again, choose Good Morning Marlow from the drop down and today's date, and you'll be able to listen to it back. Colin, wish you all the best. Thank you very, very much. And let's play you out with The Wanted. There we go. That was Lose My Mind, The Wanted, as we were talking to a mind magic man, Colin. I'm really sorry, Kelly, that he couldn't hear you, because you had things to talk about.
That's okay, yeah. I didn't want the conversation to sound disjointed if you couldn't hear what I was going to say to him, but I was just thinking about it as I was sat there, just the power of suggestion. And, we were talking earlier about permission to rest and things like that. It's the same, essentially, with what Colin's doing, isn't it? Yeah. When those people get up on the stage, I imagine, they've already set the intention that they're willing to be part of it. So they're giving permission to possibly be a bit silly or engage in what he's saying. Whereas if they're not in that position, already the mind is doing those habits. It takes 66 days or something, doesn't it, to build a habit. So they're in those default patterns, whereas at the minute they step foot, because they've given permission, they're open to all the suggestions that he's going to say. And it just fascinates me the more I learn about different things. I'm quite heart-led, but I do a lot with the mind as well. But we can never know it all, can we?
No, I do think it's fascinating, because that's why I was sort of saying to him, some people are more open to it than others, even though as you say, they've stepped on stage, therefore they've mentally given permission. There's obviously some people who are like, full on, like totally full in, I've given permission. And then there's those people who go, I've given permission because I've stood on the stage, but I'm not really giving permission because I'm holding back, and they're digging their nails into their legs. I thought that was quite fascinating when he said that. You're like, why have you come on stage if you're trying to not give full permission for your mind to be open to this kind of thing? I think it's fascinating, the mind. I do think it's those kind of Derren Brown things. As a kid, I should have said this to Colin, maybe I said it last time, but as a kid I was watching, who's the bending spoon man? Uri Geller.
Yeah.
And he told everybody to go and find any clock or watch in their house that didn't work, and he was going to get everybody's clocks and watches working. So I had this little white watch. I must have been about, 13, and it had stopped working. Probably the battery had gone, but it was an old-fashioned, fingers going round watch, and we all had to set the watches to 11 o'clock, and all at the same time we had to look at the watches and say work. And I think we had to say it 3 times or something. And this watch started working, and my mum was very, very sceptical. She was in the room, and I remember her kind of mocking me, and I just burst into tears because I was so blown away that this had worked. I mean, my mum afterwards was like, it's probably the heat of your hand made the battery work again, or something like that. But I was like, that for me was like almost life-changing. I was like, this man is incredible. He's in a studio somewhere in London, and I was in the Midlands where I grew up, and he's made my watch work. It was incredible. But I'd love to go and see one of Colin's shows. I think he's absolutely fascinating. So Colin Adamson, hypnotist there, if you want to Google it. I think he said his website. I have closed it now, but Just Google Colin Adamson, hypnotist. He's very, very funny, very entertaining. He's got a very sort of cheeky smile, and I think he's probably absolutely brilliant on stage. So,